You are listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt Olson. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Your support truly means just so much. And to really kick off this episode, can we just talk about for a second how hard doing the personal development work, spiritual work, self-work, etc. is? I feel like we're always seeing the rainbows and butterflies and more so the end result compared to like when you're in it doing the work or we're just not really talking about it. But like, it is hard work. And honestly, just learning and growing and stepping into new states of self-awareness and up-level and witnessing what no longer aligns with you, then taking action on it. I mean, it is work, you guys. I'm sure if you're listening, you probably understand this, and it is a whole thing that I feel like we are not talking about enough. We're always seeing like the tools and steps and how to do things, but like we're not talking about like when we're actually doing the thing. And especially for me, being a chronic people pleaser and then seeing what my own values are, my own boundaries, having the awareness, then having to take action about it and actually telling people how I feel or saying no. And like, it's just a whole thing. So anyway, if you are out there doing the work, if you are in the midst of it, it's also so enjoyable as well. Do not get me wrong. I absolutely love it. But just know that you are not the only one going through the trenches right now, and really just honoring your soul and speaking up for you and speaking your truth and stepping into who you are. It is no easy feat, and it is awesome and exciting and truly unlike anything else. However, it is a lot of work. For myself personally, I've had to, like right here, right now in real time, really am setting up different boundaries with people and people I love. And I just want to point that out as well, as I'm setting up certain boundaries because I love these people so much. However, having the conversation is so hard. And what makes it so hard is it doesn't make it hard because in the event that I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this or not. It makes it so hard in the fact that I know what I have to do for me, because at the end of the day, I'm the only one living my life. You are the only one that has to live your life. You are the only one, truly, even if you're in partnership, that has to wake up with you and be with you every single day. So if you are not respecting yourself, what are you doing? Other people are not living your life. They are not inside your body. They are not seeing things from your perception. They are also not paying your bills, most likely, or, whatever it is that you need to survive. So like, just remember that this is your life to live, and nobody else is living it for you. But for me, like, it's really hard. Again, like when I love some people so much, whether they are friends or family, and I'm witnessing that a relationship has shifted or that some actions are not in alignment with my values. And unfortunately, fortunately, as we go through this work, once you learn certain things, it's really hard to unlearn them. And I'm just seeing very much about who I am, and I'm really having to step up and be the adult in certain situations where maybe I've held a different role before. And stepping up and speaking your truth, it's scary. I'm just going to say that it's scary, but it is so rewarding. And I also just want to share that with anyone who might be going through this in real time as well, is that there is a difference in having your stomach drop and having it twist and turn, or just even feeling like something is a no, and still going through with something anyway. And then there is a big difference in something feeling like a solid yes, that it's like, nope, this is the right thing to do, but then still feeling nervous because maybe you've never done it before, or maybe you're like me where I have an open and undefined heart and open heart center in human design, which again really plays into that people pleaser, or just you've always been focused on pleasing everyone else except for yourself in life. And you're actually about to step up and have a conversation and say, actually, I don't agree. I don't disagree, but from my perception, I don't agree with you, or I acknowledge that you're sharing this with me because you care about me. However, this conversation is actually really hurting me and asking someone to stop. And if you're as empathetic and compassionate and all the things for other people, it can be really, really hard to speak up for yourself. Really, really hard. However, from example and experience, it is so worth it. So definitely just use a little bit of discernment there in your body to understand what is a no, what is a yes, and what is just nerves or what is just the unknown, because it's like my whole life I've been focused on giving people what I thought they wanted at the expense of myself. And for once, I'm going to do things differently because A, I love these people so much, but B, I also love myself so much that I have to start doing best by me. Anyway, this episode is not about that, but I guess it is. So if you're listening here in real time, wherever you're listening, this episode is just me, a really fun solo episode, an Ask Me Anything where I pinged some different questions from the community, questions that you all sent in, and I'm so excited to answer a select few of these. I did get so many questions, so thank you to everyone who submitted. If you also have more questions too, my DMs are always open. But I selected a handful that I thought would be really fun just to kind of chat through with you guys, answer some things that you have, as this will be the final episode of 2021 Season 2, which is crazy. It's really exciting. I absolutely love it, but it's also kind of wild. So like I was saying earlier, if you're listening in real time, yes, it is the end of October. And last year with Season 1, I took a break for the month of December. It ended up only being a couple weeks, and it was a wonderful thing. Huge for me, but it wasn't long enough. So this time I'm actually going to be taking November and December off from the podcast. Yes, it's completely okay. Take this as your permission slip. If you've been doing something and you've been feeling like you need a pause or a stop or whatever it is, take it. Who cares? Honestly, who cares? For me as well, I know I just come back so much stronger. I also just have felt my energy shift and I've been feeling like I need a break. And that's one of the best things we can do for ourselves, is to be so in tune with yourself that when you feel like you need a break, you really listen to it and then you take it. And I'm going to take it. I'm going to take November, December. Right now, I feel like I'm going to be starting Season 3 up at the beginning of January. That could change. Anything can change. What feels like a yes right now might change later. But for right now, you guys, this is going to be the final episode of 2021 Season 2, Year 2 of the podcast, and wow, what a gift it has been. Whether you've been here from the beginning, whether you've just recently started tuning in, even if this is your first episode, I truly thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. It means the world to me to have all of you tuning in. And thank you as well for also just sharing these episodes and these important conversations with your family, your friends. I also love seeing your tags on social media. Your ratings and reviews mean so much to me. So if you feel called to do any of that, continue sharing. It means so much to me. It means so much to our guests as well. And it's also just so helpful for us as individuals and us as a collective to really be presented with these conversations and theories, perspectives, ways of thinking that kind of open our mind or give us something different to think about. And what I think is so beautiful, whether it's the podcast space, the digital era, social media, whatever it is that you don't have to resonate with everything that's being shared. Like sometimes I'll listen to a show and I'm like, I love this show. This particular conversation, not for me. So I move on. Same thing on social media. I see a post, not for me. Big deal. I move on. And like, that's the beauty of the time we live in. we don't have to get caught up in things that we don't resonate with. And I also always try to ask myself too, like, okay, why don't I resonate with that? Even today, while I'm answering some of these questions, if you don't resonate with what I'm sharing, cool, move on. Like, really gives no label as to who I am, like, who you are, anything like that. It's just all of our own individual perceptions. And that's what I think is so just interesting about the time that we live in. Anyway, I think that is it. Again, definitely touch base with me on social media. Do be sure to check in, keep following the podcast. I am going to be sharing just different clips of some of our older episodes and things like that. So I'll be sharing on social media just, the best of mental health, health and wellness, spirituality, astrology, kind of just continuing to reshare some of these older episodes. So if you're interested in heading back, learning about human design, learning about your dreams, learning about food, mental health, your emotions, whatever it is, definitely check in with me on Instagram at the Britt Olson, or you can also follow the podcast at Loving Your Own Soul. I think it is time to get into today's conversation. Okay, so there are some very interesting questions, I will say, that got shared. Some of these were a little more on-the-spot questions that I'm actually going to save for the end, kind of in place of my typical loving your own soul questions. But one of the first questions that came through is, what is your opinion on protein and how much we actually need? Phenomenal question, by the way, and probably one of the most highly debated topics. Actually, probably with where we are right now in our world, not the most highly debated topics, but for some of us it is. So, number one, my opinion on protein is probably very different than yours, and it's probably very different than other people that you've heard from, and that's okay. However, from experience, intuition, study, research, my health coaching certification, etc., my opinion on protein is that we are all individual and we all need differing amounts of everything. Higher amounts work for some people, lower amounts work for other people. The amount of protein you're consuming can also change per your lifestyle, your environment, what you've got going on at that time of your life, down to what you have going on in that particular day. As it pertains to how much we actually need, again, that is so individual. However, I would just kind of look at how much protein are you eating on a daily basis. Now, there's also different types of protein. There's virtually protein in almost everything we eat. And again, I say virtually almost everything. Obviously, yes, like fruit, no protein in that. We can get specific if we want to, but we also don't need to get specific because there's a lot of protein in vegetables. There's also, again, just up to you as the individual. You have the option to kind of see and experiment and explore how much protein you actually need. If we look back ancestrally, back to the quote-unquote caveman days, cavemen were not eating protein. And when I'm talking about protein, I'm talking about animal protein, animal meat, because that's typically what we're referring to. And we're saying protein. They were not eating that every single day. And they were certainly not eating animal meat 3 times a day. They were gatherers. They would gather what they could find from the earth. They would eat what they could gather from the earth. And yes, they were also hunters. And when they were able to make a killing, for lack of a better word, they would take that animal back, feast on it for however long, and then go back to gathering from the earth until they were able to make another killing. The quantities were far smaller than ours. 4 times smaller and just very different. So I would consider that. I would also just look at your lifestyle and play around with it. Try 1 day of no animal protein and see how you feel. Try a couple days with no animal protein and see how you feel. There are also so many other ways to get protein. And again, there are different types of protein. Animal proteins, there's there's just a lot going on right now. I highly recommend ensuring you're eating quality sources. Again, kind of energy in, energy out concept as it pertains to eating animal protein. For me, the protein in spirulina, in algae tablets, is unlike anything. It is one of the purest forms. It contains so much protein. What is the statistic? I think one algae tablet, and you can fact check me on this, it's listed on EnergyBits website. I also have stated it in my conversations on social media and on back of my episode with EnergyBits, the founder, Catherine Arnston, as well. But I believe there's 3 times as much protein in one tablet of spirulina as there is in one whole piece of steak. So just something to think about there. If you're not familiar with spirulina, which is just algae is actually one of the oldest plants on Mother Earth, which is insane. It is nutrient dense. It is eco-friendly. It is super sustainable, one of the most sustainable food crops. And algae actually appeared over 4 billion years ago, which is insane. And without algae, we wouldn't have oxygen, and therefore we would not have life on Earth. So it all goes round and round and round. Algae is also what's interesting. So, fish is filled with omega-3s, in particular like salmon. Well, the omega-3s from that fish, the fish are actually acquiring all those omega-3s from the algae that they're feeding on. So even something like a spirulina algae tablet has like triple the amount of omega-3s than eating a piece of fish would. So just super interesting. If you are interested in learning more about algae, shameless plug here, I just mentioned EnergyBits. EnergyBits is my tried and trusted resource for algae, for protein, for just getting the adequate amount of a full nutrient profile that you need on a daily basis. I absolutely love them. They have also changed the health of so many of my clients, family members, friends. If you are not on the algae train, trust me, you want to get on it, whether for protein or the whole other host of benefits that they have. If you're interested, you can head over to energybits.com and use code LYOS, that is LYOS, for 20% off your order over at EnergyBits. I kid you not, they will change your life, and I do not use that phrase lightly. So back to protein. I also, if you're worried about getting enough protein, I would also just ask yourself, why? Why are you so worried about getting enough protein? Is it because your body operates better with more protein? Perfect. If you've discovered that for yourself, then yes, obviously protein is key for you in some capacity, whatever capacity we're talking about. Protein is phenomenal for all of us. If you are worried about different things, you might have heard it. I always ask myself, is this mine or is this someone else's? Have I acquired this information over time? Or is this something true in my heart that I know to be true? I personally thrive without a lot of animal protein. And I just eat animal protein on the occasion when I feel like I need it. Other people, close people in my life, thrive off of mass amounts of animal protein. We're all different and we are all individual. So with that, obviously, yes, I did not answer your question because it is not my place to answer this question for you. It is up to you to really tune in and listen to your body and have fun and experiment and figure out how much protein you need, because honestly, the amount you need is definitely different than the amount I need, and same from your partner, your family member, your doctor, etc. And I love that topic, so thank you for that. Next question. Do you feel you've had past lifetimes on other planets? If so, which ones? Wonderful question, by the way. Do I feel that I've had past lifetimes on other planets? So I have always felt a strong connection to the planet Venus. I don't know if that means that I've actually lived on Venus before. To be honest, I've never really explored the fact of, have I had past lifetimes on other planets? Do I believe that I have a heritage, ancestral lineage, piece of my soul that comes from starseeds and light beings? 1000%. I know that I definitely have roots with the Pleiadians, also the Lumerians, 100%. Honestly, the other ones I have really not studied too much. And when I say studied, I often will explore some of these different topics and see what resonates in my soul. Some of this information I've received confirmation through Akashic record readings and past life regressions and things like that. Other times, again, I'm a generator, so I operate best when responding to something. So if someone is talking about a certain group of starseeds or planets or whatever it is, aliens, and something inside of me is like, ooh, I get something, and then we'll explore it. So that is kind of that. But I have, again, I don't know that I've had past lifetimes on other planets, but I do love this question so much. I've always felt connected to Venus. I always enjoyed Pluto. I always had a fascination with Pluto. And again, this is all from being a kid, and the things were highly intuitive as kids. So probably no coincidences there. I also always had an interest in Saturn as well, which is interesting because I was actually born on a Saturday, and Saturday is ruled by Saturn. I know Saturn can scare some of us because of Saturn returns. Saturn returns are nothing to fear. They are truly happening for our greatest interest and our greatest evolution in this lifetime. Sure, they get a little bit rocky. We always survive them. The world does not end during it. So promise you that Saturn does not need to be a scary thing. So yeah, I think that's that. Next question. Oh, okay. All these questions are wonderful. What are some tips and strategies for those who know they're gifted and just can't find the time to do the active work? First and foremost, please know that you are not alone. We are never alone. If you are feeling this way, I can guarantee you there are so many other people feeling this way, including yours truly. Sometimes finding the work and trying to play with time, our priorities, just what life has to throw at us can be tough. And we are all honestly in a time of like stepping into this new paradigm. I mean, we are literally rewriting history right now and like setting the foundation and all these things for what is to come. We are also in the time of a great uncovering as well. And we are all just exploring and trying to figure this stuff out. So first and foremost, you are not alone. I'm sure so many people can relate to this question. And what is really coming to heart in terms of tips and strategies for those who know they're gifted and just can't find the time to do the active work, my number one tip would be, how can you add in the active work to your daily routine? If you are driving around running errands, driving around dropping a child at school, whatever it may look like, how can you be as present as possible in the car while driving? Can you try to connect to your breath in the midst of the quote unquote chaos? Can you look to music and really start tapping into the lyrics and ask your guides, like play with your guides in the car? Okay, send me a song that's a sign, or send me a song of something that I'd like to know. Play around with any of your clair senses, whether that's through music, whether that's through signs on the street, things in the grocery store. Like really just start bringing in the work and your gifts into your daily life. Like for me, I really like to just look at life like a playground, and like we always have the opportunity to play and learn and grow and all the things. And while, yes, I love nothing more than being able to get in my comfortable space with my candles, my crystals, cleanse the space with the music, my journal, all the things, go deep, do it all. That doesn't always happen. That's not always realistic. So for me, it's really, how can I play in my day-to-day life? Same thing even with like cooking. I really love utilizing my intuition in the kitchen and really just playing around with amounts and spices and flavorings and kind of letting my intuition guide me through. Again, our clair ability is pick a clair sense and start playing with it everywhere. Start asking for signs and numbers. Start really just playing like almost, we kind of will look at with our clairs, for instance, like clairvoyance with like flashcards almost. A coach of mine had taught me this and it's worked really, really well for me of predicting, using that clairvoyance to see what is on the other side of the image. We can do that at the grocery store with numbers, with picking things out when we're out shopping, when we're dropping our kids at school, even helping our kids with homework, talking with our partners. Like we always have an opportunity to really drop in and try to be as present as possible, try to tap into our gifts, ask our guides to help us. And I also believe that like that time is also time doing the active work. So there's all different levels of doing the work, but it doesn't have to always be this or that or fit into one box or the next. We can really bring the work into our daily life. And for me, that's where I think the work really takes place. I mean, it takes place on so many different levels, don't get me wrong, but being able to move through things, and even in our job, even if you don't have a spiritual job, my friend Erin Panzarella over on Everyday Perspectives podcast really talks about this. And I think she just did a phenomenal job of tapping into her gifts, going through her spiritual journey, and then figuring out how she could then bleed in her spirituality into her current job. She has then hit a point where she's done everything she could, and now her job is actually not in alignment with where she is energetically. And it's time for her to switch out and actually go full-time utilizing her spiritual gifts. But with that example, then bringing it in, how can I bring this work into an office? If that's your experience, how can I bring this work into volunteering? And like, be open and fluid with it. And for me, the more open and fluid we can be, that's where the magic really happens. And also do it your way and, breathe. breathe. Life is hard. So totally there for you. Life is hard, but life is also really freaking fun. All right, next question. Ooh, okay. These next couple questions are kind of like evolution questions, which are super fun. First one, how do you feel the podcast has evolved since you began? And are you so proud? Thank you for this question. I am so beyond proud of myself for following my heart, following my soul, starting up a podcast, being honestly terrified, and that's a strong word, but pretty much terrified of what other people would think. Mostly those close to me, because it's always the ones who are closest with that we fear will judge us the most. I think that goes back to just tribes. And again, that's kind of why we like follow the crowd and we want the crowd to like us and all those things. It's really scary to be like an outsider. Oh God, people are going to talk about me. Or what if they like kick me out of the tribe because I'm different or speaking my truth or whatever it is. But yeah, I'm so proud of myself. And the podcast, I think, has really evolved since I began, mostly in myself. And honestly, I really haven't figured it all out. These next 2 months are, now that I've had 2 seasons in, I really get to now go back and really listen and play around with my voice, my truth. What am I sharing? One of the things where my podcast is evolving to is becoming much more vulnerable, much more open. However, it's also been my journey. And with where I was when I started, I wasn't at a place where I was comfortable being super open and being super vulnerable. So like, if you're out there looking to start sharing your story or speaking up on social media or starting a podcast, like know that you can grow and evolve, and the show is going to grow and evolve with you, and you don't have to figure it out all from the very beginning. Like, again, the perfectionist, it doesn't have to be perfect from the get-go. What is important is that you just do it, and that you got an inkling that you wanted to do it, and you're going to do it, and you're going to try it. And no matter what, it's going to be a wild success. Whether it's one listener, a couple listeners, whatever it is. I mean, honestly, for me, it's not even about the listeners. It's about doing this for me. And I think that is what is so important. Was this podcast was something that was inside of me for so long, and it just wouldn't go away. So I finally did it, and like my soul, like everything is just so happy. And this podcast was a true soul calling. But with that, now that I've gotten some time under my belt, for me, it feels like it's really time for me to not get serious, but really just give it my all and really tap into my voice, my truth, what I'm sharing, how I'm sharing, really make this authentically mine. While doing it was a huge leap and a huge thing that I did, there's a lot that I still want to do and that I still haven't done. And I think I've been honestly playing really small, and I'm so done playing small. I'm actually reading a quote that I have taped to my desk that says, "I am safe to be my true, authentic self." And honestly, that is a mantra that I've been slowly dipping my toe into, but I will really be embodying that and really taking these next 2 months to fully do that. And on the other end, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, you're going to take 2 months off, you're going to lose all your listeners, I know I won't. And if you don't come back after my 2-month hiatus, deep dive, whatever you want to call it, honestly, that's fine. This probably wasn't a long-term thing anyway between the two of us, but I know when I do come back, the energy that will be swirling around with all of us is just going to be so fluid and so amazing that the show is really going to continue growing and reaching the levels and the capacity that I know inside of my heart that it will reach. So thank you for that beautiful question. And yeah, I mean, it's just also evolved in like working with an editor to edit my shows. I'm going to be changing my music, my cover art. I shifted that. Like, it's really for me, like my show, I needed to do it to then be able to fine tune it and be able to really craft it and figure out what I like, what I don't like, my interview style, who I'm interviewing, taking requests to be on here versus me creatively curating and selecting the guests and the topics and the conversation. And also me really tapping into all of you as a community and my audience and understanding what it is that you want to be hearing. What do you want to be learning about? All the things. Like, it has just, and I've learned so much too about myself. And yeah, it has just been a beautiful gift. So thank you again for that. Next question. There were a couple kind of like variations of this question, but the one, let me see, how do I answer? What do I pick this one? Yeah, we'll just read this one. How have your offerings shifted, if they've shifted at all? Are you still primarily health coaching? So when someone says my offerings, I am a certified health coach, spiritual life coach, plant-based nutrition advocate. Gosh, what else am I? Entrepreneur, speaker, podcast host. Duh, if you're listening, obviously I'm a podcast host. So I have a variety of offerings. And yes, other questions were like, has your coaching biz evolved since you first started and things like that? Yes, my coaching business, everything has evolved 1,000% since I first started. It has totally shifted. So I still do health coaching, but what is interesting in the health coaching that I do, our health bleeds into all areas of our life. And if we don't have our health, we're not alive. Sorry to put it bluntly, but it's true. If we don't have our health, we are not alive. My husband and I know that very closely. He almost passed away back in September 2018. And when I say he almost passed away, should not be here with us. And that is not an exaggeration at all. If you do not have your health, you do not have your life. So if you don't have your health, if you're sick and you're investing in, I don't know, something to grow your business or make you millions of dollars, you're not going to be able to use those millions of dollars because you're not going to be here physically to use them. So for me, where I'm going with this, without being super doomsday right now, not to scare anyone, but our health is our life. And back in the day, I always had this inkling that I would be a life coach. And I got started on this coaching journey through the realm of health and wellness, because I love it. I'm deeply passionate about it. I also believe that without our health, what do we really have? Number two, because being a life coach felt a little scary to me, to be honest, and switching my entrepreneurial journey over to coaching, health coaching felt like the best start. It is also what I've been most passionate about these last couple of years. But what has shifted is the fact that our health, I cover all areas of life. So of course we talk about food. However, we talk so much more about your spiritual practices. We tap in with the universe and connecting with your spirit guides and your intuition. We cover your career, your relationships, relationship with yourself, relationship with others, emotional regulation. We have really started shifting and talking about energies and things like that. We will talk about the stories we tell ourselves. We talk about limiting beliefs, inner child healing. What else do we do? I think I mentioned career. We talk a little bit about money and stuff like that. We also look at your astrological profile and your human design profile. And we really give this whole well-rounded approach. We look at environment. We look at what brings you joy, all the things, because they're all connected. So a great way to get started. And as it pertains to your life, for me, at one point when I was so inflamed and so bogged down and eating the wrong things, I also wasn't clear mentally. So it's they all kind of go hand in hand. If you start shifting your mindset first, typically your mindset around food and exercise and what you're doing with your body all comes into factor. On the flip side, if you get started by focusing on food and exercise and all that, you also start shifting your mindset. And then other areas of your life, it's like this domino effect where everything is connected and everything is swirling all of the time. So yes, my coaching business, I could say, has evolved. However, as many of you know, this is also something I'm going to be working on, to be completely honest with you and transparent, is I really haven't been sharing and marketing all the things that I do. So that's something that I will be really focusing back in on, is really giving a clearer preview to what I do for people, what I've done for my clients, how my perception and how we're all really shifting each other's lives. And also, there's so many different ways to shift your life for the better. So if my principles and beliefs and theories and things I share and things I've studied don't resonate with you, perfect. You'll find someone that does resonate with you. And that's the best part of all of this is we're all connected and we all have so many different people who we connect with. But I will say for myself, I've also worked with my own coaches, and that has been so instrumental. It's just similar to going to therapy, having that outside source to help uncover your blind spots, help provide accountability, help show you different things you weren't aware of, make suggestions. All of that is so, so key and so crucial, especially with where we're going in our life. But at the end of the day, hopefully the person you're working with is also reminding you that you hold all the answers. You hold all of the answers inside of you. Sometimes you just need someone there with you to help uncover those. We're all our own healers, and I fully believe that. However, it is so helpful to being guided and working with someone to really step into that and be able to really bring these answers up from within us, because traditionally we haven't been told that the answers are within us and that we have to rely on other people for the answers and other people to tell us what to do and all of that. So if anyone is telling you that you don't have the answers and they are the only ones with the answers, just tread carefully. That's all I can say. But yeah, so my offerings have shifted immensely. I have my Life in Balance program, which is a 9-week self-paced wellness program, which is actually getting a facelift, and that will be relaunched here shortly. That is a program you can do at any point in time. So helpful. We have a super low offering, is a gut health reset. 6-day reset, really focusing on your mind, body, and spirit as it pertains to your gut health and digestion. We do a lot about the gut-brain connection, the solar plexus. You get 6 days of food and meal plans, some meditation in there with a little energy healing infusion. So many fun things with that. I also am hosting my first retreat, which I'm so excited this December, and I could call it my first retreat. It's honestly not really my first retreat because I've been hosting events and bringing people together for so long. I mean, honestly, on and off for like 10, 12 years now. So it's really something that comes so naturally to me. It's just doing it from the spiritual wellness space, which I'm so excited for. That's kind of my highest ticket offering. I also have some group coaching programs coming out. And then if you want to work with me one-on-one, I do so in my energy healing containers that I'm actually shifting away from specific one-on-one solely coaching containers and more into an energy healing container, which is where we're really seeing the biggest impacts and the biggest transformations. So what is unique about my energy healing containers is that each session we do coaching. I coach you for about the first 15, 20 minutes. Then I will drop you into your body, which is where the magic really takes place. Again, we are all our own healers. A part of you is also working with me. And then we shift. We pull out your blocks. We help get you unstuck. We focus on your chakras. We focus on your physical body. I do a little bit of medical intuition there when necessary. We heal. If anything, sometimes you just relax. You will feel the energy move through you. We make massive, massive shifts and transformations. And then we come out of it and we talk about it. And we do a little intuitive guidance. We see what messages came through. We pull some cards for further activations or confirmations, validation on anything, messages we need to receive. And then I send you on your way with some journal prompts for you to really continue the integration process. And I also do not totally recommend doing one-off healings, really going into a container, whether we do a 3-month container with 6 healings, we do 3, etc. Having multiple is what really starts making significant changes in your life. So I love the energy healings. I love the work around wellness and life. I love retreats. I'm just so grateful for all of it. And then my podcast. My podcast is really kind of my free offering because you get to listen for free, which is so fun. And if you love it, again, it's free. A lot of work goes into it, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So definitely be sure to share with your friends and family and leave a rating and review if you feel called as just a little energy exchange there. But in the least, again, I don't do it for all of that. I do it for your greatest good and your greatest evolution. So that is the answer to that. And honestly, who knows? A year from now, things might also shift. I think that's the beauty of it. Nothing's concrete, and it's okay to shift and change and evolve for the betterment of you and then also the betterment of the collective. All right, so a couple on-the-spot questions as we will wrap this Q&A Ask Me Anything episode up. First question was favorite sports. Fun question. You're probably like, what? She's a sports fan? Truth be told, I actually have a sport management degree, was my bachelor's degree. I worked in marketing, corporate events, event management for different sporting organizations, PR, all those different things, primarily in the water sports industry. So my favorite sport is surfing, always will be. I've been surfing since I was about 12 years old. Surfing is one of my biggest connections to myself, to Mother Earth, the ocean, all the things I love surfing. I'm also just going to list the sports that I love participating in because I like going to sporting events. I'm not a big, I don't follow a team, but I think sometimes they can be fun. I surf. I love tennis. Tennis is another huge sport that I absolutely love to play. I played back in high school, kind of been playing again on and off for most of my life. Running, walking, hiking are all fantastic. Towed water sports, so like water skiing, wakeboarding, wake surfing, those are all so much fun. What else do I do? Volleyball, although I haven't played volleyball, particularly beach volleyball, in a while. I love that sport. I have not played in a really long time though, but that is really fun. What else? I think that's probably about it. My husband is a big hockey fan, so I have become more in tune with the hockey world. which I actually appreciate more than I thought that I would, but you probably would never find me at a game or watching it if he's not around. So I've also worked with a lot of athletes too. So I appreciate sports and athletes and all that goes into it. Next question, favorite after dinner snack. So warm cup of tea, hands down. I love tea. Tea just brings me home. It's so soothing. Absolutely love it. If I am actually consuming more of like a food after dinner, it would be ice cream, especially coconut ice cream. I love ice cream. I feel like I went through a big ice cream phase this summer 2021. Really like a coconut, an almond, a cashew, regular ice cream. I just, can't do it. It does not do well. Even on the taste buds, I'm like, what is this? But yeah, non-dairy ice creams are my fave. Favorite cocktail or beer? So this is a fun question because as some of you may know, I've been on kind of a journey experimenting with how I feel about different substances, how I feel about alcohol, my relationship with alcohol, and things like that. If I am choosing to drink, I love a glass of champagne. A good glass of champagne just feels so good. It also feels a little more high vibrational. So that is just me. Personally, that doesn't mean that alcohol is high vibrational, but I believe champagne feels high vibrational. If I'm drinking a beer, I actually really love sours. A sour beer is one of my favorite that I drink. If I'm drinking beer, that's definitely my preference. What else? A good glass of wine, particularly red wine, feels good to me. And if I was going to pick a cocktail, honestly, I would say a mocktail, first of all, like seltzer water with fresh lime. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite things. So seltzer water with fresh lime. Otherwise, if I had to pick a cocktail, probably more of like a margarita fan with like something like that, but it has to not be like a super sweet one. A little picky there. So fun conversation about alcohol, which we don't have that often. I would love to know on social media your relationship with alcohol. Maybe that's a podcast episode that I'll do coming up. All right, last question, I think. Is this going to be the last question? I think it's going to be the last question. I'll check. Favorite type of food. So honestly, favorite type of food is fruit. I love fruit. It just point blank, as simple as that. I absolutely love fruit. If you're talking about cuisines, Asian, first and foremost, Thai, Vietnamese, Japanese, probably be my top 3. Otherwise, I love then kind of like next tier down would be the Spanish style, Mexican flavors. I love those. Similar flavor profiles there. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you just so much for tuning in. Again, this is the last episode of season 2, just a little Q&A, ask me anything. Thank you again for your questions. If I did not answer your questions, I might even kick off with a Q&A at the beginning of the year. We'll see. I usually try to save these. Sometimes I lose them. So if I didn't answer something that you asked, just hit me up again. It was honestly not intentional by any means. But yeah, thank you. If you've been enjoying the show, of course, definitely share it with your friends and family. Leave a rating and review. I love receiving your messages and seeing your tags on social media and just, sharing all these fun conversations that we get to have on here. If you are interested in connecting further or working with me, definitely reach out. You can always find me on Instagram at Britt Olson. I've got my website linked in the show notes with all of my offerings, thebrittolson.com. Keep it easy for you guys. Thank you again so much for being here. Thank you to this community. I love all of you so, so much. If we have not connected yet, please reach out because I absolutely love connecting with you. And we will continue the journey again soon in 2022. Definitely tune back into some of our older episodes. Give them some love. Have a beautiful holiday season. So many of you I'm going to be seeing in Rincon, Puerto Rico this December for our spiritual wellness retreat. And just thank you. Thank you to all of you. Have a beautiful finish to this year. And I will see you again in 2022. Goosebumps.